born out of New York City. We're now in Texas as well. I'm going to take you guys through our traction, our kind of vision for the future, and the whole business model in just a moment. But the brand really hails, or the kind of inspiration from the brand is roots in Australia. You can tell that I'm not from the US. So Australia has this really rich coffee culture and breakfast culture that we get from our British heritage. Everyone knows the big breakfast or the English big breakfast. And then we have a lot of Mediterranean immigrants who bring a lot of the espresso technology. So the Australian cafe model is really just a fusion of all these kind of history parts of our country. And when I moved to the US, a country that's got the best of everything, one thing that stuck out to me is that, I think the breakfast culture, as much as I love the diner, as much as the next person, I think is really lacking, and there's an opportunity. And the same said for the coffee industry as well. So a little bit about the kind of mission and the concept. I talked a little bit about the history of our concept from Australia, but the breakfast segment is now the fastest growing segment in food and beverage in America. And it's for good reason. I think a lot of concepts are now starting to wake up that the diner model is outdated in the US, and there's a real opportunity for a brand to come along and win the space. And more importantly, we see that Starbucks have, they've really changed young consumers, mostly millennials, because they've commercialized espresso and coffee culture in this country, right? Where they've taken us from Peet's coffee out of a can now to espressos and coffee shops. Well, we all know and we all read in the news that there's a little bit of a decline happening with that brand, because now there's a want and a need for this next kind of stage, which is a bit more of a premium coffee, a bit more of a healthier and chef-driven food, better sourcing, more ethics. And we're kind of seeing that generation now demand a more premium service as well. I use IHOP there as well because there's not a lot of national breakfast brands in this country that are really kind of paving the way and winning that space. So over to Citizens, we've got a photo there of some of our kind of delicious breakfast dishes and our coffee. This is our newest location in Houston here on the bottom. So we're on a journey to really win that space and become the country's top breakfast and specialty coffee brand. We call it the better breakfast category. I talked a little bit about transporting that concept from Australia. I really wanted to communicate the kind of history and what makes this Australian cafe. And then the Starbucks Australian market case study. So I thought this was a really fun case study that not a lot of people would know in this room. But Starbucks, who dominate every country they go to, back in 2000 they tried to enter the Australian market, and within 8 years they closed 80% of their stores in Australia, which is mind-blowing. They've got 25,000 stores here in America. Why can't they even get 80 together in Australia? And it's because our level and standard of coffee culture and breakfast culture is so far ahead. It's something that we really embrace that they really couldn't crack the country. And nothing's really changed. We like coffee as much as everyone else in this country. So it wasn't a lack of loving coffee. It was just that the Australian coffee culture was that much ahead. And now we've kind of come back to the US to try and crack this market as well. So who are we? We are an all-day breakfast and specialty coffee brand. Our restaurant's you can see on the picture on the right, this is our first restaurant in New York. We have a combination of table service. So if you walk into a Citizens, you're going to see 100 seats of full-service breakfast dining customers. They're all ordering fresh juices, smashing avocado toast pancakes, coffees, just like a traditional restaurant. But then we have a bakery and coffee shop counter like you see on the screen. So we're two concepts under one roof. And what we've found is because we have two concepts under one roof, they cross-pollinate really well. Coffee is a very sticky product. We're drinking it all the time, every day. So people who come and discover us for a coffee in the morning turn into breakfast customers. And people who are there having breakfast, either on their own or with family or loved ones, they see a line for coffee and then they become a coffee and bakery customer as well. So that's part of the kind of power of this concept. And we've just recently expanded into CPG. So as we expand our footprint across the nation and we establish brand equity in breakfast and coffee, well, we're now offering pod coffee, K-cups, beans. We're available in the grocery, we're available in your office. So we're really aiming to grow Citizens to win the space and become a national household brand. You can experience us, in restaurant, at the grocery, and at the office. These are some of our locations. So we started in New York City. We've opened 4 locations downtown. There's some really nice, beautiful shots of our locations there. Last year, we opened our first location in the Texas market in Houston. It's been our strongest ever opening that we've ever had in terms of sales and guest sentiment. And we're about to open in Austin, Texas in about a month's time as well. These are some product shots. So we do everything from, to order fresh juices. We house roast our coffee as well. So we actually control our whole supply chain of coffee. We buy it direct from farms. We roast it ourselves. We also do cocktails as well, which turns out to be a really big part of the market in Texas. They like to drink over there. And then we do some really innovative twists on breakfast dishes. Everything from, Benny dishes, pancakes, to more healthy dishes like salads, avocado toast, salmon. This is part of our Citizens at Home, our CPG offering that I just talked a little bit about. We've been really recognized. It'd be surprising to say this, but we haven't spent $1 on marketing. We've just focused on being best-in-class operators, and we've had all these publications, Forbes, Vogue, Departures. They've even labeled us the 2 Aussies dominating the brunch scene in New York City, which I think is really funny. So our kind of efforts and brand is paving the way for attention in the scene. This is what makes us special. Because we have those 2 models under one roof, we generate really high volume of sales. Each one of our locations now averages 2.4 million. The deck's even out of date. We're actually now at 2.5 million. It exceeds public brands like Starbucks. They average 1.4 million. First Watch average 1.7 million. They're publicly listed companies. We have the same real estate, same box size. We're generating higher amounts of volume because we're combining these models under one roof. Our historical 4-wall performance, you can see that we've now tripled our sales since 2020. So we're really growing at a fast rate as we open new locations, and our profit is following. In 2024, we're on track to do $1.1 million of unit level EBITDA. So we're profitable as we're growing. We raised in 2021 and had an amazing raise where we filled our round with $1.2 million and took on some notable angel investors that you see on the screen. Randy Zuckerberg, who's now joined our board as well as an advisor. We've achieved a lot. We've expanded into a new market. We've kind of doubled our revenue. We've launched a CPG division. So we're really starting to ramp up in an aggressive growth period. And this is some of our kind of overarching, investment goals. So we're trying to ramp up in the next 5 years to get to 40 locations. We know if we get to 40 locations, we're going to hit $100 million of revenue and really be on the radar for strategic acquirers and investors at that point as well. We see that as a real sweet spot, and we're kind of going to scale our CPG part of our business alongside our restaurants as well. These are case studies of brands that we see in our space that hit that critical inflection point of store count and estimated run rate, who then get acquired by big strategic players like Nestle, Chobani, First Watch that have IPO'd. So we're studying brands and following in those footsteps to kind of carve out that business model as well. Awesome. I think that brings me to the end. Well, cheers everybody. Appreciate the time. I should just